Is the theory of evolution consistent with the religion of Islam? And are the arguments that are being put today by some scholars and researchers in science and Islam correct arguments? Is invoking something like occasionalism a fair argument? Let's explore all of this and find some truth. Peace be upon you all. A major religion as a Muslim, or even as a Christian or a Jew, is whether this theory of evolution is consistent with your religion. In our religion, God says that He has created. But some say, well, maybe He has created through evolution. Some of them will invoke some obfuscation and really badly define evolution, but some of them will even define evolution correctly and still try to reconcile it with Islam. So, what is the main statement of the theory of evolution? So, the theory of evolution explains the origin of species like this. There is universal common descent, and then there is descent with modification by random mutations and natural selection. It invokes deep time. There is no problem in Islam with deep time. We don't bother if the earth is 4 billion years or not 4 billion years old. So there is no problem with deep time. But then the problem is that it invokes random mutations as its primary mechanism. It also invokes that all the living creatures come from one common ancestor, and this includes human beings. So some have tried to do this. Number one, they have invoked something called exceptionalism. They're taking exception for human beings. Some have even gone one step more and took exception only for Adam and Eve, and said that maybe there are other human beings who are the result of evolution, and Adam and Eve specifically are directly created. So let's start from this matter of Adam and Eve. This matter is false. Why? Because Allah in the Quran, when He talks to human beings, He says, Ya Bani Adam, O children of Adam. So when He says that, and when there is an instruction coming after that, calling them to believe, calling them to do this or not to do this, whatever the instruction that comes after that, is there two types of human beings? Some of them will have to obey the instruction, who are the children of Adam and Eve, and others will not have to? Obviously, this is false. According to the religion of Islam, Adam and Eve have been created directly by God, and all of us are the children of Adam and Eve. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء. In Surah An-Nisa. O human beings, have piety towards your God, who has created you from a single soul and created from it its spouse, and then spread out of them many men and women. So it is out of those two very first human beings that Allah has created every other human being. So being an exceptionalist for Adam and Eve is false, and being an exceptionalist for human beings is okay, because human beings come from Adam and Eve and they are special. But then let us look at whether the other creatures have come from random mutations and natural selection. This is invoked essentially by an ideology called methodological naturalism. And under this methodology, you need to explain everything in nature from other things in nature. Processes of nature can be completely self-explanatory. According to our religion, we understand that this is false, because essentially you will not be able to explain the emergence of the whole of nature out of nature itself, because nature cannot create itself. So methodological naturalism fails at critical points that are assertions of religion that they are direct interventions of God. What are those points? Creating the universe, creating life, creating human beings, giving each and every human being his soul, answering prayers, and few more. So could God have created all life forms through random mutation and natural selection? Well, the first question, why would you like to answer this question? Because it is a very solid and stable and completely accepted scientific theory. If you think that this is the case, I would like to give you the news that this is false. The theory of evolution is not an established fact. It is a theory with so many holes. It is a theory that has been almost completely reconstructed at least twice. Charles Darwin did know nothing about genetics. When Mendel discovered inheritance and when humanity discovered about genetics, the theory was in complete crisis in the 60s. It was later replaced by Neo-Darwinism, or what is known as modern synthesis. Its mathematical model, which is population genetics, if you understand mathematics and if you try to really apply it to the chronological events that would lead to a change of a certain species to a completely different species from using random mutations, you will end up with humongous time just for few beneficial changes to take place that are mutually constructive. Even the whole life of the earth and of the whole universe will not be enough. So why exactly are some people trying to twist the arm of religion to match this theory? Let me tell you this. In the 1950s, the whole scientific community had consilience, had agreement that the universe was static and eternal, until Hubble discovered that the universe was expanding. And then this whole idea collapsed. So even if the majority of evolutionary biologists and zoologists and paleontologists are okay with the theory of evolution, does that make it an established fact that we need to review the assertions of our religion to match it? The answer is no. Number one, it is not an established fact, and number two, it is just an explanation of the observations, and there are many other plausible explanations. And number two, we need to understand that there are so many open questions in this theory, to the extent that it really explains very small things about life, that you can take it under adaptations, under genetic drift, under breeding, under inheritance, which are established and okay, but it does not explain the origin of species. Then now let us look at the cornerstone of this theory, which is random mutation. What is randomness? A random event is one that you cannot predict its outcome, even if you know all the present states and all the past states. It's like throwing dice. When you throw the dice, it doesn't make a difference if you know what was this current throw and what was all the previous throws of the die. Because it is random, you cannot predict what's going to happen. So if somebody wants to say it is random, but God is guiding it, you are saying it is random, but it is not random in the same time. And this is called a contradiction, and contradictions are not logically accepted. They are absurd. You are essentially twisting words and playing games. You are saying that according to the theory it is random, but I am accepting the theory, but I am putting a small script there, that it is not really random. Why don't you just say that you do not accept the theory? If you accept the theory, it means that you are accepting randomness. It means that you are accepting that there is no purpose, there is no direction, there is no design, there is no intent, there is nothing. There is randomness. If you want to say God is guiding it, then you go and create a new theory. But some would say like this: maybe it is random from our perspective, but it is really not random from God's perspective. And since He is omnipotent, He does it in a way that we will perceive it as random, but it is really not random. Okay, let's look at this argument. Number one, why would God do that? Are you worshipping a God who wants to be found or not? And why don't you just go and ask God? So if we look into Surah Al-Ankabut, for example, you will find Him saying,
أولم يروا كيف يبدئ الله الخلق ثم يعيده إن ذلك على الله يسير.
haven't they seen that Allah starts the creation and repeats it? He's referring to resurrection. Surely this is easy for Allah. So is it really congruent that something is easy if it happens by random mutations? Billions upon billions upon trillions of mutations. Most of them cause damage, most of them cause suffering to creatures, most of them bring about abominations. For this one very, very, very rare mutation that brings benefit to happen, is this what God means by this thing being easy? And then in the following ayah He says, قل سيروا في الأرض فانظروا كيف بدأ الخلق ثم الله ينشئ النشأة الآخرة إن الله على كل شيء قدير. Say, walk in the earth and ponder, انظروا فانظروا, and ponder and think how the creation has started. And then Allah will do the second coming. He's referring to resurrection. Surely Allah is omnipotent. Surely Allah is all powerful. So Allah is telling us to walk on the earth to collect evidence, to make observations. And He is telling us when we do that, we should think. And when we think, we will find Him. We will find His fingerprint. We will find that it can only be Him that has created. So does that make sense that He is asking us to go and find that the origin of species is random mutations? Is complete blindness? Is that it can only be modeled as random Markov chains? And that means that He has completely obscured Himself? Why is He asking us to go and look then? To find that randomness is leading the show? And why is He telling us that this is a clue for us that He is the one who is going to be able to do the resurrection? And does that mean that when He resurrects us for Judgment Day, He will also invoke random mutations and we will evolve again? And we will go through all the series from unicellular organisms over billions and billions of years until we become humans? Is this what it is? No, this is not what it is. This is the worldview maybe of someone who believes in another God. Not the God, the only and one God that we believe in. The God who has created us to find Him and to know Him and to worship Him. The God who told us to look in the horizons and to look in ourselves to find Him. سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم حتى يتبين لهم أنه الحق. We will show them our signs in the horizons and within themselves until it is obvious, until it is evident to them that it is the truth. So is what He is going to show us at the frontier of our knowledge and within ourselves that random mutation is what is leading the show? No. This is not the God, the one God that we worship. This is not His message. I leave you with this thought, and I am now offering an open debate for for Islamic scholars who are standing for theistic evolution. If you have questions, post them or send me an email and I'll answer them next episode. Subscribe and set your notification bells. See you soon.